Alex Ochoa wasted no time kicking off his professional baseball career. He signed with the Baltimore Orioles in 1991, right out of high school, and spent a few years in their farm system before getting traded to the New York Mets in July of 1995, making his major league debut that September. He had some memorable moments with the Mets, including hitting for the cycle against the Philadelphia Phillies in 1996. Ochoa had a nomadic 8-year career in the major leagues, playing for 6 different teams while getting traded a total of 7 times, but it would all be worth it in the end. In 2002, his last major league season, he helped the Anaheim Angels take down the San Francisco Giants in 7 games for Anaheim's first World Series title. By 2003, his career as a major league player may have been over, but his professional career in Japan was just getting started. He became an everyday player overseas, posting a .289 batting average over 6 seasons. With his playing days completely behind him, Ochoa was back in the U.S. He became a coach in the Red Sox organization from 2009 to 2012, once again teaming up with manager Bobby Valentine. And now he's teaming up with me for the first time ever here on Touching Base. Hey, Alex, how are you, man?
Hey, good. How you doing? How you doing?
How
How's
you
everything?
doing? Dude, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it
No,
so much.
no problem, Mike.
Awesome. So, let's just kind of start from the beginning. I know you grew up in Miami. How big of a role did baseball play in your childhood as a young boy growing up in Miami?
Huge. I mean, Cuban descent. My father loved baseball. Um, Everybody loved baseball in my family, so it was easy in that aspect. Even though, as a young kid, my dad always would put us in front of the TV, me and my brother, to watch baseball, and we were interested really young. So I started like at 8 years old, actually, later than most. Um, and then I just fell in love with it. I just fell in love
And
with
you
the
look
game.
like you could still be playing, I might add. So I know you probably get that a lot. But
Thanks, I appreciate
no,
it.
no problem. So you played through childhood. Now, out of high school, you decided to sign. A lot of the guys I interview, they 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 don't want to sign out of high school. They wait to go to college and then they sign possibly to get picked in a higher round. But you opted to sign right out of high school. Was there ever a plan to go to college, or was that always the plan all along to sign right out of high school?
You know what? It's funny that you say that because yes, that was the plan. Now I look at it a little bit differently, in the sense of uh going to college. Everything worked out obviously, but yeah, I mean, I always wanted to play baseball. I had a scholarship to UM, and I just decided to sign. And in retrospect, I think going to college is a lot better, actually, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah. Well, they say
But
hindsight is always 2020. But what are you going
yeah,
to do?
no
It
doubt.
worked out for the better. You had a great major league
Yeah,
career.
yeah, no
So
doubt, no doubt.
yeah, absolutely. So you were drafted by the Orioles. You get traded to my team, the New York Mets. Now you were traded over the course of your career. You were traded, I think, 7 times.
Yeah.
How emotionally draining is that? How tough is that to have to uproot yourself? I mean, does it take a toll on you as a player professionally?
Yeah, definitely. Get traded and having to move and learning new teammates, and it's new philosophy with the organization. Understand what they want and what they look for. So it is draining. The first time wasn't bad though because I grew up a Mets fan.
Oh, nice. So it worked
Oh
out in your
yeah,
favor.
yeah. I grew up a Mets fan. There was no team in Miami at that time, so we watched WR all the time, and I was big Strawberry, Gooden, uh, Rafael Santana, Lenny Dykstra,
Yeah.
Mookie Wilson,
All
obviously.
those
So
80s
like,
guys. Yeah.
so yeah, all those '80s guys. And so when I got traded with them, I was super excited. I was super excited, even though I left an organization where I thought I grew a lot, and I had like really good relationships with coaching staff and people in the front office and things like that. But it actually changed a little bit because Doug Melvin was our minor league director, and then
Right.
he got the job to Texas, and then a bunch of the guys left over there. So it was basically a new organization. So it was good to go to the Mets and to play where I loved Shea Stadium and watching it on TV, And the first time I ever got to go to the big leagues or to the game to Shea Stadium was my first day in the big leagues. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
awesome.
I actually I know Shea Stadium was falling apart towards the end, but I miss it. There's a lot of sentimental memories there. Now you go to the team in I think '95.
Yes.
My first Mets game was August 31st, 1996. My dad took me and two friends, and you actually pinch hit that game, and you went 1 for 1. And the hat over
Okay.
my left shoulder here is actually from Shea Stadium. That's about 30 years old, doesn't fit me anymore, but I wanted to make sure it was in the backdrop.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, that's cool. So the Mets in '95, '96 are kind of in a transitional period, a few years away from the playoffs, but their core is built during that time in Edgardo Alfonso and Ray Ordonez, the middle infield, I believe. I mean, I believe that
Yeah.
was their core. It was supposed to be Generation K with Bill Pulsifer, Jason Isringhausen, Paul Wilson. We all know that never panned out,
Yeah.
other than maybe
Hmm.
Isringhausen. But Alfonso and Ordonez were a big part of those Mets teams into the late '90s and early 2000s. Did you
Yeah.
guys know? I know they hadn't made themselves a name yet at that point, but did you guys know you had something special with those young players?
Definitely Ray, right? Ray was unbelievable with the glove. I got to play against him when I was the Orioles in Double A, and then obviously, and also Edgardo. Um, Fonzie was always a really good hitter, but I think Ray, defensively was unbelievable. I got to play with him, and we became good friends. And then as well as Edgardo, but Edgardo was more. I know he had called up. I think '95 was his first full year,
Yeah,
and he was used as a utility guy. And then the following year, actually, Butch Husky was supposed to be the third baseman
that's right.
um, that year, and
And he moved
Edgardo
to first,
continued.
I think, and then Edgardo
Yeah,
played third.
first, outfield,
Yeah,
right field. So we had a loaded outfield with young players, but young guys at that time. But Edgardo was kind of going to be the utility guy, and then when Butch made, I think he made quite a few errors in the beginning. Bobby put Edgardo there, and he never looked back. And then he played a couple years, and they got Robin Ventura. Then he moved into second base, and they
yep.
get a great combination. And we know the history on that infield. I think it was in '99 where they had like,
Best infield ever or something. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
Rude.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no
yeah.
doubt,
Those
no
guys
doubt.
they were a lot of fun to watch. Of course, they always got beaten by the Braves, but it was still a fun period of time to watch the Mets back in the late '90s. Now, in
Yeah,
90,
no doubt.
'96, the same year I see my first game at Shea Stadium, you also hit for the cycle. I think it was maybe a month before I went there in July of '96. You hit for the cycle.
July 3rd, yeah.
What goes on in a major leaguer's head? You have 3 hits, you need one more. Are you thinking about that hit? I mean, I know we're all human here, but or do you just think of it in a professional sense, like we got to win the game? Who cares if I get the hit? How do you approach that?
Yes and no, right? I think in the beginning, of course, obviously you get to a point where you got single, double, and triple, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take a hack, a couple hacks actually. I took to try to go deep, and it didn't work out. I was 0-2, and then I got into the bat because we were, I think it was a tie game, and so I was like, I got to get on base.
Yeah,
And then it so happened to me a ball, and then a breaking ball with 1-2 count, and it just happened. That just happened because I wasn't expecting after that to hit a home run. So it was unbelievable. It was I mean, I never hit for the cycle ever in my whole entire life, not even in
that's
little league.
funny.
So it was awesome.
And you were a great hitter back in those early Mets days. You hit around 300.
Yeah,
Later in your career, I believe in your last year of your career, '02, you won a World Series ring with the Angels. Now it was an interesting series. It was the first time two wild card teams met up in the series. You guys are
yeah,
down 5-0 in Game 6, playing against the Giants, a veteran team, kind of like the Diamondbacks from the year before. A very veteran team. Kenny Lofton, Benito Santiago, obviously Barry Bonds, JT Snow. You guys are down 5-0 in Game 6. How were you guys able to turn it all around and shift the momentum in your favor in Game 6?
I would say the rally monkey, but yeah, the rally monkey that year was unbelievable. Just, I mean, I think as a team, obviously I got traded there and in July of that year, and I think as a team, I think everybody was kind of like pulling on the same rope. It's a quote that people use, pulling on the same rope, everybody pulling, and it was true with that team. I think Mike Swisher did a good job. I got traded there, and basically off the bat, called me in the office what my role is going to be. very honest, very straightforward, and I think everybody knew what they had to do. And I think as a team, we knew that kind of inning by inning, batter by batter, we can still get this done. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that was our mentality, right? So then, you get that 3-run homer by Spezio,
Yep.
and then 5-3. Actually, they helped. Dusty helped us out, taking us Russ Ortiz from the game because he was really he was throwing the ball well. So I think that helped. And then obviously we created momentum. Then the next inning, Erstad hits a home run, and then Glaus hits a double, and it all kind of working together. It was just that one special, and then the fans were amazing. I mean, I've never had been in a ballpark that loud or that exciting in my life. So
yeah, no, that was cool. I remember even the Angels fans had those plastic
Thunder sticks,
whatever they were called. Yeah, I remember first time seeing
those. It was called the Thunder Sticks
series.
Yeah.
But what people may not realize about you is that after your major league career, after you get the ring in 2002, that was your last year in the majors. You had a really, really nice career in Japan. What made you play over there, and what were some of the differences between there and here?
What made me play? It was my agent at the time, Scott Boris. Calls me Christmas Eve, and he asked. It was like meant to be, because at the end of the day, he asked me that the team was interested. It didn't work out. They went with Kevin Millar, and then a month down the road, Kevin Millar got claimed by Boston in the waiver wire, which usually never happens.
Right.
Never happened before that, because once kind of like gentleman's agreement between teams, when a guy's getting sold overseas, they let him go through waivers. But Boston really wanted him in advance, and the Marlins wouldn't trade him to them. So then they picked him up off waivers. And then it became an issue, and then I was kind of like the fall guy, like, okay,
right.
We're not gonna get Kevin Millar, and I went there. So I mean, it was part, obviously opportunity to play every day, but also, monetary reasons. I was gonna get paid way more than I was gonna get paid here. And I said, it was a point in my career that I'm kind of like, okay, I want to just take care of my family now. So then, or be in a better financial situation. A lot of people do not admit that, but I do, because it was a part of the to be truthful, it was a part of the decision making. And not only that, I still had I still could play in the big league. So it was a tough decision, but I decided that part.
Yeah,
to
family
go there.
always.
1 year
Did
turned
you have
into
a family
two,
when you moved to Japan, or were you still single at that point?
No, I was single. But I thought, I've always been a forward thinker in that aspect. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna put myself in a good situation where I can kind of go the direction I want to go to? If I want to stay in baseball, if I want to do something else, if I can do that.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So after you come home, in 2008, you come back from Japan, I believe. Now, around that time, Bobby Valentine also comes back from Japan. You guys eventually land on the Red Sox together. He managed you in the early days of the Mets back in '96, and you end up on the Red Sox together with him. He comes back to manage. You're the first base coach. So you guys have had a long relationship over your baseball career. What has he meant to you over the years as a mentor and a manager?
He taught me a lot, in the sense, because in the beginning it was a little rocky, just because we were so a little rocky, our relationship, in the sense of me feeling my feelings. Just because we come into the big leagues, he was my AAA manager before I got called up to the Mets, and then the circumstances. We had Carl Everett, Husky was playing out there. Then we had cemented center field Lance Johnson and Gilkey, and kind of. I thought it was like I got an unfair, at that time I was,
you're being overlooked.
I felt like I was being overlooked, and there wasn't as much as communication back then that there is now with players, right? Mm-hmm. So for a little bit of time there, it was erupting, but I learned a ton of stuff about that. I learned how to be a best player for the first time. So a lot of things that I got from that later on I was able to kind of talk about it more with him, because he was managing in Japan, and I was playing in Japan. So we got to talk a lot and, understand each other, understand how my feelings and his and what he was thinking. And so I think a lot, I learned a lot in that aspect from him, and even more as when I coach with him, as baseball mind. He's a great baseball mind, a little bit harsh sometimes, but I understood where he's coming from. A lot of decisions got to come down through him. So to understand the game in a sense, he taught me a lot. I can't deny that.
That's awesome. Today's game, much different than when you played as far as all the rule changes. I mean, are you still a fan of the game, or do you like the rule changes? Do you wish, part of you wish that it could go back to how it was when you played, or do you think all these changes are good for the game?
I think the changes that were happening with the shift and the pace of the game was super slow.
Yeah.
For a good period of time. I didn't like that too much. I think as a fan, if you're looking at it in a fan's perspective, I understand the dynamics of, the shift and things like that to win ball games and to, take away certain strengths of certain hitters. But I think in the fan's perspective, I think it was kind of slow. Line drive wasn't always a hit. The athleticism of a second baseman wasn't as prevalent. I back in the day, like Alomar and all these guys that would play a unbelievable second base.
Yeah.
That the fans didn't get that athleticism from either the right fielder or the second baseman, because you have your third baseman playing right field, you have your second baseman playing all the way in the. So I think in a fan's perspective, my opinion, it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And I think the rule changes now to keep the infielders in the infield, creating more stolen bases. It's just making the game more fun for the fan. And I think me being, obviously I still work in the game, but like me looking at it as a fan, I enjoy, those things, the excitement of, some of the rules on the borderline with the second baseman, in extra innings, second guy at second base.
The ghost runner, yeah.
The ghost runner. I'm not a very on favor of that, but whatever. It's not that big of an impact. It is a big impact because it does affect games, right? Because you don't have the bullpens. But I understand that part about it. The up and downs and to kill your bullpen. Are you really being fair the rest of the time? So for some aspects it's good, and some aspects I don't like it.
Yeah, some like the ghost runner on second. The weirdest thing for me about that is, like, how does it factor into the stats? Do you charge the pitcher? Do you not charge the pitcher? And then the run goes unaccounted for. It's just, I feel like the run should start from home and end at home. It's weird to me to have it be like a half a run, so to speak. But yeah, there's a lot that I wish it went back to. The pace of play is a big thing, and it can be daunting on players. I can sit back and say, I don't like the pitch clock or whatever, but the players are the ones out there having to wait through this, and it can be exhausting for them having to play 162 games a year. So yeah, it makes it more interesting for the fans and better on the players. So I totally get the clock. Any favorite players you have in the game today?
I mean,
anyone who reminds you of you, or anything like that?
Anybody that reminds me, I mean, that's tough. I wish I had power like Acuna, because then I would be more towards like him. But
yeah, he's a dude.
Acuna, Juan Soto. I love watching him as a hitter. His patience at the plate. He does it all as a complete hitter. Acuna, obviously. Tatis. You got Olsen with Big Pop. There's a lot. It's exciting actually to see all these young players
today. Absolutely.
It's exciting excitement. There's a lot of very, very good players, young players, and more coming up. And so it's a fun time. I think now with the rule changes and the pace of game, I think, and guys stealing bases is I love that. I know that supposedly analytics say that it's better to just be at first base and get caught stealing or anything like that too. But just the excitement of guys stealing bases, you see more stolen bases, and stolen bases are up. I don't even know. I don't even know the percentage, but it's got to be
up. Well, the bases are bigger too, but yeah, people are taking more chances. And like you said before, without the shift, I mean, the players have to play at their respective positions. It gives them more leeway to steal bases now. So it's a lot more
Exactly.
exciting, I have to say. It's much more fast paced. And for that, it's a much better game for sure. Are you still
Yeah.
living in
Yeah.
Florida, or are you on the East Coast?
Yeah. I still live in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
How'd you
live in
make out
Miami.
with I'm
And
only asking because we didn't get nailed by Hurricane Ophelia, but we are dealing with a lot of the rain from it. I was just curious as to how you guys were doing.
oh yeah, a lot of rain. Obviously, South Florida
Yeah.
is a ton of rain in the summer, and it's always rains at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and
Yeah.
and so that it's starting to kind of a little taper off now. We still get a little bit of rain, but the humidity is down. But
Yeah.
I've lived in Miami all my life, basically, other than obviously playing in different places.
Right.
But I love it down here. I love it down here.
That's awesome. And Alex, it was great to hear your story, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. I'm so glad I got to see you at my first game at Shea Stadium, and it came full circle with this interview.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll stay in touch, my friend. And again, thanks. I'm so happy to hear your story, and we'll be in touch, man.
All right, Michael. Thank you, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care,
Thank you for
buddy.
having me
Bye-bye.
on. All right.
All
You
right,
take
man.
care. You take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.